The HOA thought they could break me. They thought a few threatening letters and smug grins at board meetings would be enough to crush my dream and force me into silence. What they didn't know was that every insult, every attempt to humiliate me, only added fuel to a fire I was already determined to keep burning. They wanted me gone. They wanted me erased. Instead, I gave them something they'll never forget. A lesson wrapped in a smile, a stethoscope, and the kind of poetic justice that still makes me grin when I think about it. When I first opened my little health and wellness center, I wasn't chasing fame or fortune. I didn't dream of building some massive empire or landing on magazine covers. My dream was simple: give people a safe, affordable place to heal. I had spent years working in rehabilitation and fitness centers, and I'd seen countless people fall through the cracks because they couldn't afford care or felt too intimidated to step foot in a Dr. H.'s office. My health center was supposed to be different. A cozy space with yoga mats stacked neatly in the corner, soft music humming in the background, and the faint, calming smell of lavender filling the air. It was humble, but it was mine. And for the first time in years, I felt like I was building something that mattered. But dreams are fragile, especially when you live in a neighborhood run by an HOA that seemed to thrive on control. It didn't take long for the first letter to arrive. A crisp, white envelope with the HOA logo stamped on the corner. At first, I thought maybe it was a welcome letter, maybe even something supportive. I tore it open with a little smile, only to feel my chest tighten as I read the words. Your business is not in alignment with the aesthetic and purpose of this community. Consider this your first warning. My first warning. For what? For trying to help people? I remember pacing my tiny office, letter crumpled in my hand, my heart pounding like I'd just sprinted a marathon. My throat went dry, and for a second, I wondered if maybe I'd made a mistake. Maybe they were right. Maybe I didn't belong here. But then I caught sight of the framed certificate on my wall, the one I'd worked years for, and the wave of anger that surged through me burned away the fear. They weren't going to scare me off that easily. Over the next few weeks, the letters kept coming, each one nastier than the last. They accused me of increasing traffic in the neighborhood, of ruining the quiet suburban atmosphere. One even claimed that the sight of people walking into my center was lowering property values. It would have been laughable if it hadn't been so cruelly persistent. Then came the in-person visit. I was wiping down one of the massage tables when I heard the sharp knock at the door. I opened it to find 3 HOA board members standing there like they were about to conduct an arrest. The leader, a tall man named Richard with slicked-back hair and the permanent smirk of someone who'd never been told no, stepped inside without waiting for permission. Behind him was a woman named Carol, who clutched a binder to her chest like it was a weapon, and another man whose name I can even remember because he spent the whole time glaring silently like an attack dog waiting for command. This, Richard said, gesturing dramatically around the room, isn't a medical facility. This is an eyesore. You're operating illegally, and we're prepared to take action if you don't shut it down immediately. My palms went clammy, and I felt my breath catch in my throat. Every fiber of me wanted to scream back, to tell him exactly where he could shove his threats. But instead, I forced myself to stay calm. I simply asked, "On what grounds?" Carol flipped open her binder, pages rustling with self-importance. "We have bylaws, rules, and according to section..." She paused to find the number. "This type of business is disruptive to the harmony of the community." Harmony. That word made me want to laugh and cry at the same time. There was nothing harmonious about being bullied by a group of power-hungry neighbors. I could feel my fists clenching at my sides, nails biting into my palms. But I didn't let them see me break. I simply nodded and said, "Thank you for stopping by. I'll review your claims." Then I shut the door on their smug faces before they could get another word out. When the door clicked shut, I leaned against it, my chest heaving. I was shaking, part fear, part fury. I kept replaying Richard's smirk in my mind, the way Carol's voice dripped with condescension. They weren't just trying to enforce rules. They wanted to humiliate me. They wanted me to feel powerless. And for a few hours, I did. I sat at my desk, staring at their letters, wondering if I should just give up. But then, something inside me snapped. No, I wasn't going to let them win. If they wanted a fight, they'd get one, but not the kind they expected. The idea came to me late that night, lying awake in bed with anger buzzing through my veins. If they wanted to paint me as a threat to the community, I'd prove that I was the opposite. If they wanted to claim I didn't belong, I'd show them and everyone else just how much I did. The next morning, I started making calls. I reached out to local families I'd met through community events, to veterans I'd worked with in the past, to elderly neighbors who'd mentioned struggling with mobility. I told them I was offering free health checkups, blood pressure screenings, posture evaluations, basic nutrition advice. No strings attached, just a way to give back. Word spread faster than I could have imagined. Within days, people were stopping by, curious but grateful. I'd see relief in their eyes when I told them their blood pressure was normal, or the gratitude in their smile when I gave them tips to ease their back pain. My little center, which the HOA had called an eyesore, was suddenly a lifeline for people who needed it. And then, the sweetest twist of fate, some of the very same HOA members who had tried to shut me down showed up. At first, they lingered near the door, skeptical, maybe even embarrassed. But curiosity won. Richard himself eventually sat down across from me, his usual smugness replaced with a flicker of nervousness. I wrapped the cuff around his arm, pumped it up, and listened through my stethoscope. His blood pressure was high. Very high. I could see the color drain from his face when I calmly told him. For once, he wasn't smirking. He was silent, listening as I explained what it meant, what changes he should consider. I kept my voice steady, professional, but inside? Oh, I was savoring every second. Watching the man who Takini D tried to crush me squirm in the chair across from me was a level of satisfaction I can fully put into words. Carol came too, clutching her binder less tightly this time. When I pointed out signs of stress in her posture and explained how her habits were affecting her health, she actually nodded, wide-eyed, as if I'd unlocked a truth she'd been trying to avoid. By the end of it, the HOA had no choice but to back down. They couldn't publicly attack me anymore, not when half the neighborhood was singing my praises and they themselves had benefited from my disruptive little center. The letters stopped. The threats stopped. And slowly, the board members who had once stood at my door with folded arms started booking actual appointments, this time as paying clients. The irony wasn't lost on me. The people who wanted me gone were now supporting the very business they had tried to destroy. And every time Richard handed me a check for a session, I felt a rush of poetic justice that no courtroom victory could ever deliver. Revenge doesn't always come in fire and fury. Sometimes it comes in the form of quiet, undeniable proof. Proof that you are stronger than the people who tried to tear you down. Proof that your worth can't be measured by their approval. To this day, when I think about those first few months, the fear, the humiliation, the letters that made me doubt myself, I also think about the look on Richard S.'s face when he realized he needed me. That moment was worth every sleepless night. That moment was my justice. And the best part? I didn't just win against the HOA. I built something lasting, something real. My center grew. My clients multiplied. And the story of how the HOA tried to crush me only made people root for me more. My pain turned into my power. My humiliation turned into my triumph. And the people who underestimated me, they'll never forget the day they sat in my chair and realized just how wrong they were.